folks, it's Craig from down here at Craig's Outdoor Sports. Deer season's coming up, and we just thought we'd kind of give you a little bit of a deal for some people that might be a little confused about rings and scope bases for mounting scopes. First off, you start out, of course, your rifle has to have some kind of a mount to put your scope base. You can either, these usually come in two pieces. It'll have a piece like this and then a corresponding piece that fits on the up here on your rifle, like right here. Or you can have a one-piece base like this. There's a Weaver slots and then there's a Picatinny slots. This is a Weaver. This little slot here is a little smaller. This is a Picatinny. It's a little bigger. And there's a little bit of differences in the angles on the side angles down here and stuff. You know, these are gun specific. You can't just buy one set and they go on all guns. Each gun has its own specific contours, bolt hole spacing. So you have to match your bases, whatever brand you're buying. You have to match base to your gun. So that's the first thing you got to do. And then you also got differences in bases. Like this here is a 20. I believe this is a Night Force Picatinny rail here for a 700 action. This has got what's called a 20 MOA rail. It's got 20 minutes of angle. It's a little thicker here than it is here, and it's got 20 minutes of angle already built into it so that it's canted up so that you have enough elevation and on your elevation to be able to adjust for long range shots. So that's how you first start out, is with your bases. They're all, again, they are gun specific, unless you're putting them on like a Picatinny rail like this, you know, on like an AR or something that has a big long rail. Then you just get a Picatinny type scope base mount, and it'll fit on there. On Weavers, you got to get a Weaver base. These are your different types of rings that are available. Also on bases, you have a Leupold, what's called standard bases. I forgot to say that. This here is your rear mount. This is your front mount. The rear mount, they're designed, trying to hide this so the price don't show, so that it don't get kicked off of Facebook here, or off of anything here. But this here base here, is that showing up in the deal? This base here, this one right here, goes on the back of this. And those two deals right, those two screws right there adjust your windage. Then this has a corresponding dovetail hole that goes in there, and you twist it, and that locks that one in place. So on this particular, on the Leupold style standard rings, you have to have standard bases. These are your bases, these are your rings. They have a whole different system that's separate from the Weaver and the Picatinnies. Everything else is going to be a Weaver or a Picatinny style. This here is a Weaver style low mount scope ring. These go on here like this, lock down, your scope goes in there. There's differences in the size of this hole right here. There's one inch, there's 30 millimeter, there's other sizes besides that. So you also have to make sure when you're buying a set of rings, this mounts, or this matches the diameter of the tube on your scope. Of course, them's like a low. This here is a high, still a Weaver style. It's a little different in this comes off this way instead of having a groove here and two screws here. This has 4 screws, mounts on like this, but this is a high. This gets you up higher on off of the gun, because if you have a big objective on the end of your scope, or you have a bolt that won't work because your scope set's too low, you got to get a higher mount so that everything clears. You do not want the end of your scope right here. This is the objective. You do not want this to be touching anything here. You want a little space there, but you still want it as close as possible. So you try and match something that's fairly close to the bore of your barrel. Just helps with windage, or with your elevation and stuff. But you still have to have enough room so when your bolt comes up here, that everything clears. See how that's clearing? If this was a set of mediums, it would just barely clear. So you have to go with a high on this particular gun here. So that's the easiest way of showing you the difference between a high, a medium, and a low. But sometimes this right here gets this tube that goes along here. On some scopes, those are real short, and your bolt hole spacing's out, or your bolt spacing's out here, but this objective comes way back, or this comes way up, and you can't get your eye relief on it. Then you have to go to what's called an extension mount. That's what this is. It comes with a front mount like this, but then it's going to have this one on the back. This is what goes in the slot right there. Now, see how you all of a sudden instead of being like this, you've got that much your back that you can adjust, and that'll give you just that much. It'll give you that much more, this distance here, of being able to adjust to where you can mount your scope and be able to fit it and make it fit. The old Nikon Pro Staffs was notorious for that. You always had to have a extension set of rings to be able to fit them on there, because the distance between the eyepiece, the adjustment in the middle, and the objectives was real short right in here. So you had to get that in order to get it to fit. There's a lot of guns that are out there that this is the only way you can get a scope to fit. So be aware of that. There's different kinds of scope rings. These are all aluminum. These are a steel ring. These are made by Warning. They're an all steel ring, and you can see there's differences in how they mount up. This one here, you got to take the whole ring apart, screw it all back together, mount it in between. This one here, you just take this here, put your scope, set it on there, put these down. I like these a little easier. They're a little easier to use, but these work good too. So there's a myriad of ways to mount a scope. If you have troubles mounting your scope, bring it by, we'll help you out. If we ain't got the stuff that you need to mount your scope, we'll get it ordered for you, get it put on for you. We do mount scopes. We bore sight, we do all that for our customers. Of course, there is a charge for that, but sometimes depends on what you're doing. But anyway, we're here to help you any way we can with mounting your deer scopes for deer season this year. Come see us.